used to the other kind that are just kind of something else. So I'm going to offer pranams to my spiritual master and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Hare Krishna mantra. If you know, you can say with me. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschachate Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So you're on text 5 of Nectar of Instruction, the two personalities you see in the painting. One is the author, the younger of two brothers, named Rupa Goswami, and the elder of the two brothers is Sanatana Goswami. And they were two very principal personalities who were given the responsibility and the empowerment to receive teaching from Lord Chaitanya on the life of devotion to Krishna, to understand it fully, to be able to write transcendental literatures describing what they've understood from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And as you see in the painting, with all reference to revealed scripture. So this verse number 4, because I just want to focus on verse number 4, it's describing, at the last line it says, Shad Vidham. Vidha means regulation, and Shad means 6. So 6 rules or principles that nourish Priti Lakshana. Priti is a very special word. It's a certain kind of intimate love or deep love. Priti. Lakshana means characteristic. So these 6 we'll be discussing, but that the purpose of these 6 is to develop the characteristics of profound love. Now, a starting point is profound love doesn't happen on the ephemeral plane, it happens on the spiritual plane. But love that doesn't happen on the spiritual plane, there's a reflection of the spiritual love on the physical plane or material plane. And this is speaking of the spiritual kind of love. That means that the source of everything, the supreme source of everything, is at the center. And other living entities, not just humans, not just husband, wife, and family, but all living entities, they're parts and parcels of that same original source of everything. And when recognizing the connection of all things with the source, that's part of the characteristics of love. So there's 6 characteristics, and the first 2, giving of gifts and receiving of gifts, that's on the physical plane. Revealing one's mind in confidence and hearing confidentially the mind and the heart and the feelings of others. And a third pair of 2 is offering nice items to eat, bhukti, and enjoying or receiving those same kinds of gifts from someone else. If you've been in a class that I attend, one of the things I have grown to like to do at the end of the class to hand out some prasadam to all the people who attend the class. And it's just an example of one of these 6. Offering something nice as an edible it's the edible is something that's prasadam, that's items that are very nice and nicely prepared and offered to Krishna. But it's a category of loving exchange that's in this third line, Bhukte Bhojayate Chaiva. And that's 2 of the 6. These teachings are helping the reader or us to come to the stage where lasting loving relationships, there's the ones that come and go and the ones that last. The ones that last have a spiritual center, and they have spiritual teachings that connect one to that spiritual center. And it's very nice. And this is a nice photograph of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And I'll leave it to your imagination. His physical presence was no longer available in around 1970-ish. So 76, he left this world. So it's been a good number of years since 1976, 1977. And serving him has a lasting impression in my heart. And I can say honestly that the services that I do every day is very much connected to a relationship, a lasting relationship with my spiritual master, which means it's not on the physical plane because he's no longer physically present. And therefore, what's left is, even when he was present, it was a spiritual relationship, a loving, lasting spiritual relationship. There's this nice teaching we'll spend a little bit of time on, and it's the why question. So one of the presentations that I've done is a talk on who am I. But why is it's important to know who am I? Why should we go down that path instead of just trying to be successful? I'm just going to spend a little bit of time. It's not, why loving relationships? And why 6 categories, and why should we be concerned about it? So if to the degree to which we have answers to the why question, it will help us to do the rest, the how and the what. My message here is a lot of what our energy is invested in is the what and how to get the what, and less time in the why department. There's a Simon Sinek, maybe you've heard him before. He's a very gifted speaker, and he has the same message as I'm giving. It's not his message or my message, it's a standard message. But at the center of the concentric circles going out, the how, our attention may go to how, but much of, as he shows, these circles are in the what realm. And when we start thinking what, then we think how, but we may not be so much connected to the why. And my point is, bhakti gives so much attention to why, that is a lasting relationship or loving exchange that isn't broken with time or circumstance, because time can break everything that's of this world, and circumstance can do a pretty good job too of breaking things. However, when the why is very clear, then the how and the what take their shape. And here's a little statement that isn't showing on my screen very well because I've got these bars across the top. Do you know how I can remove those? In my computer, there's bars across the top that's blocking the text. How do I remove that?
Mark, there should be a dash that minimizes that bar?
Well, it's not minimizing the bar. I'm hitting the dash.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You could try moving it, Marge.
I tried moving it.
Oh,
Well, let me go down. There we go. Okay, here's the text across the top. So the basic, this is from Nectar Devotion. What is Nectar Devotion? Nectar Devotion is another book written by Rupa Goswami, or is the English um, rendering of another one of Rupa Goswami's fundamental books teaching about bhakti. And it is written there. The basic principle of the living condition is they have a general propensity to love someone. It's true. No one can live without loving someone else. This propensity is present in every living being. We want to love and we want to be loved. That's just part of life. And now it's not moving to, there we go. The missing point, however, is where to repose our love so that everyone can become happy. At the present moment, the human society teaches one to love his country or family or his personal self, but there's no information where to repose the loving propensity so that everyone can be happy. That missing point is Krishna. This is addressing the why question. Then, if the why question is made clear, or the more it's made clear, then the explanation of how and then what take meaning. So supposing one doesn't have the why, but we want to love and be loved. So we impose that love tendency on something else, on something or someone or a group of someone's, my community, my something that's on the material plane. So the why is to have lasting, loving relationships. This is a verse taken from that text. The Nectar of Devotion is in Sanskrit is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And what you see on the screen here is Rupa Goswami's definition of what bhakti is. The last line, you see the word bhakti. And Shilanam means the qualities or characteristics or the behavior of one who is engaged in bhakti. And the bhakti clarified is the topmost, uttama bhakti. So in short, it means that one accepts things that are pleasing to Krishna. You accept speech or conduct or anything that's the what, based upon the why. And the why is that Krishna should be pleased. And you have the Krishna should be pleased principle awakened in your heart, then when something comes along, this is pleasing, that's not pleasing to Krishna, you accept that which is pleasing and you leave to the side that which is not pleasing to Krishna. The struggle of controlling the mind and senses is taken care of by the why principle, or the bhakti principle. That is, Krishna should be pleased. In the first two lines, there's some things that do nots. Don't be overly worried or concerned or involved with cultivation of speculative knowledge or fruitive work, karma and gyan, and you'll leave them to the side and accept those things that are, in your heart or according to spiritual teachings, they're pleasing to Krishna, and then you embrace those and you leave the other things to the side. And moving in that direction, according to these nice teachings, there's always going to be some obstacles. And that is a lingering tendency to have a thirst. Krishna means thirst for things not related to Krishna, or a second obstacle is the heart is miserly. I may know, but I'm a miser. I want to keep it to myself. I don't want to let go. I want to keep it to myself. And then there's a third is aparat. It's a long set of teachings that if we had, a few weeks, we could spend some time going over these obstacles. But leave it at the fact that there are obstacles when you move along the path of life, whether it's the bhakti life or any type of life you want to lead, there's going to be some obstacles. And in the bhakti life, there's obstacles, and there's identified what they are. And the way to overcome them, well, it's pretty simple. You choose to, the why principle that Krishna is to be pleased, and it's stronger than the obstacles. And as far as the final one, aparad, that means there are things that are just basically displeasing and neglecting the why principle, and you will have to guard against those. I'm just giving a little overview, and details are important to understand these points, but time and circumstance doesn't permit. Here's a little saying that I found on the wall of a place where I stay at the Gitanagari farm. Bhakti Tirtha Swami, who's now departed this world, but when he was present, he was an African-American sannyasi, very wonderful soul. And this was on his wall. I took a picture of what was on his wall, and I'm sharing it with you. To be a lasting friend of someone, a lasting loving relationship with someone is a friend. It's very simple. A friend is one who knows you as you are, understands where you've been, accepts who you've become, and still gently invites you to grow. I'll read it again because it's so nice. A friend is one who knows you as you are, understands where you've been, accepts who you've become, and still gently invites you to grow. Emphasis on gently, but also with understanding and with acceptance. That's a friend. And to have lasting relationships, there's characteristics of a friendship, and there's also the spiritual conception of who the other person is. And that's very, very important. This is a painting meant to show that the self is the soul within, not just the body that's covering the soul. And you can look at your own leisure because of our time. You can look in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. Of course, the whole of chapter 2 is dealing with you're not the body in principle. You can look specifically with this Bhagavad Gita verse and purport to understand more, like how to live your everyday life with a conception of this you and others you're interacting with, your friends or your family or society, people around you, and not just people, but other living entities. The self is beyond the body. That's the main point. And then a few other little points. These are those things that assist in establishing lasting loving relationships. And it's going to be quick, and then we're done. Here's a painting of a vase of flowers. I'm showing this because at one time, my spiritual master was with some professors in a room, and they were asking Prabhupada how to bring unity in the world where there's so much diversity. And Prabhupada made the following explanation. Sometimes a variety of examples helps us to understand or appreciate the problem better. So he gestures to the vase of flowers on the table. in the vase, there's a variety of flowers, and that variety helps us better appreciate the idea of flowers. From any point of view, Krishna can resolve all problems that is called unity in diversity. Our students come from different backgrounds, so there's diversity, but because they're all in Krishna consciousness, they are unified. That's this. What's at the center, if Krishna and the spiritual conception of life are placed at the center, then diversity is just fine. In fact, it makes the vase or makes life even more attractive with the variety, supposing with just one color, one type, and that's it. No greens, just one kind. And it wouldn't be as lovely or as attractive and fragrant and as complete as where there's diversity, provided there's a center. So here's another illustration that says the same thing. Here's the result of dropping water in a pond. And we've all experienced this. The water hits the surface of the pond, and there's concentric circles that go out from where the water hits the surface of the pond. And it's very nice. Except when it goes out and out and out, and then supposing there's two splashes, and the concentric circles go out and out, but they clash with one another at a certain point. And relationships are like that too. Without God in the center, then you have this situation where I'm asserting my individuality, another is asserting their individuality, and there's a conflict. Inevitable. But what's the solution? The solution isn't stop our differences of opinion or personality or character, but establish the one-centeredness. And that's in a very simple way, I'm done, very simple way of taking this verse from Nectar of Instruction. Then, there's loving exchanges once the center is right that enhance the centeredness or of any relationship. If it's not spiritual, it's going to enhance that kind of relationship, but to have the lasting kind, then there has to be spiritual conception at the center, the Supreme at the center, or Krishna at the center, or God at the center. And then you can have diversity at the same time. You have unity. So there's some thoughts, and I'm already going for half an hour. So I think that's the time that I was supposed to take, a half an hour, so I'm going to stop screen sharing. We both move you. Let me hear if there's any comments or questions or some points you'd like to bring up about any of this.
Right, I'll just kick it off for a little bit. So, in mundane relationships without Krishna in the center, there will be conflict because there isn't a center. And at the same time, the transcendental position that you're talking about is where Krishna is always in the center for two persons or two groups or three groups or what have you. In that case, there's lots of love. The transition from where we might be to that position of transcendence that you're describing can still be flaky and fraught with conflict that's tense and uncomfortable.
The journey.
Yeah. In that journey, how important are those being able to build those loving relationships in practice of that higher goal?
Well, there's lots of principles I'll mention a few. One very important principle is teachers or those who teach by example. Acharya is the Sanskrit word, but having the association of those who set the real standard and not like, here's what it looks like, not just textbook, but here's what it looks like. And because of that connection with somebody that is acharya-like or sets a nice example, then it makes it easier for me who wants to get to that stage. I'm not at that stage yet. I'm in transition and it's bumpy. I can look to that quality person, take guidance, invite them, like that, that friend thing says, invite them. If you see something that I'm doing or not doing, you hear something that I'm saying or not saying that needs a little, tap on the shoulder or bang on the head or something, please feel free to, help me, because I know that I'm not there yet and I want to get there and I trust you. So to have trustworthy persons that you can go to like that, and then once they know the door is open, they can, even without being asked, they can knock on your door and say, can we take a few minutes? And I want to, share something with you. And something. So that's on a very personal level. Then in general, there's teachings. Just this morning, I was listening to Srila Prabhupada speaking in India, and he said somebody came to him that morning and said, Swamiji, why are you doing what you're doing? And he said, I told him bluntly, there are persons that are mudhas, they don't understand the purpose of life, and I've come to give them an understanding of what the purpose of life is. So that's the Acharya principle. Now I had very little one-to-one association with Srila Prabhupada, but I had association with those that had his association, and there was always his example. And 55 years later, here I am. So it's powerful. It's a powerful force to move one in the direction that you want to move in, even you're not there yet. To have a qualified teacher with genuine teachings and persons that can help you hold your hand and walk a few steps with you gently and smile and check it out. How's it going? And all those nice things. So Acharya, having a teacher is so important. And friends that are teacher-like or quality, sadhu-like. Have a circle of friends that are, worthy of good example, giving and speaking good examples. Not everybody's going to be like that. So you don't have to expect everybody to be like that, because that's an unrealistic expectation. But some persons that are like that in your life. Good teachers and good teachings, and off you go.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment or a question?
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class. Maharaj, I was thinking, like you said, that in a relationship, Krishna should be at the center, then the relationship is much more successful. But even though like Bhakti and Krishna, like they are in the center, there is some kind of impatience. How do we listen to that person patiently and,
It's the word that you used. Say it again.
uh, impatience, Maharaj.
Impatient. So now go back to that part, impatient part.
Yes. Even though Krishna is in the center and we are having a good relationship, keeping Krishna in the center, how do we listen to that person? How do we, help them like patiently?
How do you be patient with yourself, or how do you be patient with others?
Both.
Oh, okay. Well, a nice answer that Rupa Goswami gives that I think you've already studied, that's called Dhairyat. You remember the verse? Utsahan Nishchayat Dhairyat. Dhairyat means you have confidence. You're headed in the right direction. And I'm not there yet, but I have confidence because I'm headed in the right direction, and headed in the right direction also because I have good teachers and teachings. Therefore, I have confidence in the teachers and teachings, so I can be patient to get to where I want to go because I have good teachers and good teachings, and therefore I have confidence. Dharyat. I can be patient. Supposing, say it the other way, supposing I don't have such strong relationships with teachers and good teachings, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is I want quick results. And when the quick results don't come, my mind is flickering anyways. And so I'm going to go to something else and go to something else and go to something else. And the steadiness of effort or the patience in staying with something has everything to do with confidence in the process that you're following, and the teachers that are setting the example of that process that you're following. What do you think?
Yes, Maharaj. It's just a question of faith. I was thinking like how much faith we have. Yes.
Well, you wanted to have consistency, even you're not there yet. So that's you have conviction. I'm headed in the right direction. So if you find yourself, if you or any one of us find ourselves in a space where that has become a little weak, here's a good thing. Hit the reset button. Go into a nice introspective space and start asking yourself some ABC questions again. Like, why am I doing this? The why question. What's it all about, Alfie? Ask yourself fundamental questions within yourself, and you have those fundamental question types of discussions with trustworthy persons. Because once the why, then the what and the how become. So you find proper teachings and proper teachers and make those connections again. And you have strength. There's sadhu sangha will help you stay faithful on the path because you have good sadhu sangha, you have good teachers and teachings. And you got your residual tendencies got the best of you. You found yourself in La La Land again, somewhere lost. It happens. Okay. Now, I know Kapil likes like 50 questions, so I think it's good if he asks some others to say something besides Kapil, if that's okay.
Kapil is often teased. Sway, go ahead. I mean,
Yeah, so how do you deal with like when you have people in your life that you love, but they don't have that common thing of like wanting to have anything to do with like Krishna consciousness, um, and you are still like a new Krishna conscious person that's trying. I know it says you're not really supposed to associate, so do you not associate at all, or do you like
But
how do you navigate that, because you still want to be like loving and kind, but then should you just love them from like a distance and not have any association anymore? Or I guess,
well,
because does that
depend
make sense? Like,
It depends on your spiritual trajectory. I like that word. Where you are in your own spiritual evolution. It's certainly possible. It's certainly possible to see them as a spirit soul that has, a particular position in the bigger picture of spirituality, and they're not so evolved yet. And that's okay. If you can see them as a spiritual entity, then you can be, not expecting they're going to be the key association for you for spiritual progress. So then there's respect. This is the key word. Respect goes to the fundamental essence of their identity, and that's not the same for all the package that doesn't have all that, spirituality. So then you, just like that nice little saying of what a friend is, you accept them for who they are. And you don't expect them to be who they're not, because they're not. And you gently encourage them to grow. Supposing if you don't do it gently, they're going to push back. So is it possible? It depends on your spiritual trajectory, how spiritually evolved you are, how you can take that there's a principle. It's nice to say it, it's another thing to do it. There's giving association, taking association. You want to give and take association with persons that have some spiritual evolution in their being. And those that don't, you want to give association, but not so much take their association, because if you're not spiritually advanced, you'll take on qualities like their qualities just through association. So without being pushy or condescending or domineering or any of those kind of other ugly words, if you can be their friend in a genuine sense, genuinely accepting this person has evolved in this way, and that person has evolved in a different way. And so I have different degrees of friendship, but you don't have to cut the relationship unless they become offensive. Unless they become offensive. There's a very nice teaching that Lord Shiva gives to Parvati in that regard, but with her specifically, it's her father. But you can go visit friends and family and people like that, no problem, except if they're offensive, and that's where you have to keep a distance. Remember that list of 3 things, and the bottom of the list was offensive. So if they're not offensive, they don't say offensive things and behave offensive ways and in your face and, purposely making you feel uncomfortable, or if they're not like that, they're just, being whoever they are, then you can be accepting of who they are. See them as a spirit soul and gently help them to grow. If they, gently is, and underline the word gently. Because if you push, likely there's a pushback. So depends on you, depends on them, and their receptivity. How's that? Help?
It does. Somebody really wise once told me sometimes there's certain people that you have short, loving interactions with. Short, meaningful, loving interactions with. And sometimes you do make it short, so you do get the love and the quality without having to necessarily take on from them, like what you explained. Sorry, you explained like so much better than I'm not as eloquent, but
We're all different. That's nice. Like the different flowers in the vase, they're all different. So your approach and my approach and someone else's approach is likely to be a little different. What worked for you is going to be a little bit different than somebody else. There are principles, however, and I was just trying to address principles, and how you apply those principles is going to be, a lot your personality. how you apply yourself to those principles.
I have one more question. So I don't really like conflict. So sometimes when I'm around certain people that I just don't, I feel like sometimes I don't say anything. I don't stand up for myself and I don't like really want to cause any issues. I want everybody to be happy too. But then it's like their behavior is offensive to me, but I'm not saying anything about it. So is that also a
No,
good thing or a bad thing, or should I just not associate, like you said, like kind of like back off? Because like I don't want to be a judgmental person either, you know, and but at the same time, it's like I feel like it does hurt me whenever I hear like a lot of things and it's very far from what I'm going through or where my spiritual path I want to go
yeah,
toward. Makes sense.
I hear what you're saying, and my advice to you is dial down the sense of hurt that comes from the material platform and dial up the spiritual sense of meaningfulness on the spiritual plane. In other words, as you are more spiritually, you're not there, but as one becomes more spiritually tuned, then with people's harsh speech or harsh behavior, it doesn't have the same impact. It becomes inconsequential per se. It's not lovely, but it's not hurtful either. Some people get really hurt by stuff on the material plane. So dial down the material plane stuff and dial up your interest in being with this person or others where there's spiritual nourishment coming into your life, and then your affinity for those persons and your exchange with those persons will become more satisfying, and the other ones will just kind of fade a little bit and fade a little bit more and fade a little bit more. You know, just they're not as significant to you anymore because there are things more significant. It's like when light becomes brighter, the darkness is dispelled. So move in the direction of more light, please. And the darkness of person's speech and behavior that's damaging to themselves and others, it just becomes less consequential. You have less to do with them naturally. While there may be moments that are joy-filled, those joy-filled moments are on the temporary side, on the flip side of the misery side. So move to the spiritual direction in your life in general, and you'll find a solution to what you're presenting. Gradual. It's not, you know, flick the light switch and you're out of that zone now. It's just, but gradually move in that direction. Okay. So how are we doing with time doing Jivana? I'm looking at 20 after.
We still have time, Marge, if your time permits.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Sure. Anyone else would like to ask? You can shrug your nervousness. Usually there's so many questions.
I'm intimidating, I guess.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have a question. I'm sorry my camera is not working, but you know, there's an English saying when a student is ready, the teacher appears. How is that true when you're saying when a devotee is ready, you are ready for a guru in that same kind of a line of thinking? Um, when does the guru appear to a devotee, or how does the guru manifest to uh, a devotee when the guru is going to be such a important figure moving forward?
It's a big topic. And two things. I'll invite you to attend virtually or otherwise in person The Madhurya Kandambini seminar, there's going to be a 14-part thing over the Thanksgiving holiday in Houston, Texas. And I've been up to my eyeballs in that topic that you're asking. Not just guru, but the deliverer of bhakti. Sadhu is a deliverer of bhakti. It's not just guru is deliverer of bhakti. The sadhu, those who are carrying bhakti in their heart, they're the deliverer of bhakti. And so what you said, the principle is true. That is, when the desire is there, Krishna will send, because Krishna is fully independent, and bhakti is fully independent. There's no material cause or stop of bhakti in principle. So the appearance will come when, like you said, when you're ready, and then you need to have some training, basic training, boot camp training, to know what qualification do you need, and how do you evaluate a person who is in that a potential individual for shiksha or diksha guru. You need scriptural training. So that's partly what you're doing with these classes on Nectar of Instruction. Basic training in what's what. So that when that opportunity does come and your heart is further lifted, the light is on a little brighter, you'll feel something and you'll understand something. You can match, there's an alignment with the teachings and the teacher. That's how you know. And that's when it will happen. Until then, it could be sentimentally plus or minus. And when it's not just sentimentally plus or minus, but there's alignment with the teacher and the teachings. You see in the teacher the characteristics you find in Bhagavad Gita and other texts that say these are the qualifications of a self-realized soul. These are the qualifications of one who is worthy for me to accept as a teacher. I see 2 hands up. You want to call on people? Do you want to do that?
Maharaj. I actually saw the person with Sue. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. If you wanted to ask a question first.
Namaskar, Swamiji. My name is Avi, and I'm visiting Sue from India. It's a pleasure in your company getting things. I have a small question. We started this talk on a premise that Krishna has to be in the center of every relationship that we have. And there's also a concept that Krishna is omnipotent and he's omnipresent. And is it humanly possible to collect Krishna consciousness into the center or at a place? Or is it all right worshipping Krishna in a very concentrated form in the center as well as in a very diffuse form in its omnipresent form? Thank
Well,
you.
you say diffuse form, what do you mean by diffuse form? Because the personality, Krishna as a personality, can be omnipresent and omnipotent while remaining a person without losing personality or without losing potency or omnipresence. So that is to say, like, for example, Krishna is in the heart of you. Now, I can't see Krishna in your heart because I can't see Krishna, but I know that Krishna is in your heart, as the soul is in your heart, both. So through the eye of knowledge, I can see, and I can have, a sense of connection, especially through sound. The sound incarnation, like Bhagavad Gita, is Krishna speaking. He spoke 5,000 years ago, but you read Bhagavad Gita, and you're hearing Krishna speaking 5,000 years later through sound. Krishna is present through sound, or the mantra, Krishna is present through sound.
Thank you.
So that's how the omnipresence can be palpably appreciated. Otherwise, just like I gave the example, how many years, 1977, and this is 2024, since I've had this physical association of my spiritual master. So is there spiritual association? You bet. Otherwise, I couldn't be able to sustain.
True.
So it's vibrational, not necessarily it doesn't depersonalize the relationship with Krishna, and the Krishna is at the center. So they can be at the center when you're eating. He can be at the center when you're walking, or working, or reading, or this thing or that thing. By consciousness, in relationship with the person. Just as we're speaking right now, Krishna's at the center. We're just meeting for the first time.
Thank you.
Saujanya, would you like to go next?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sorry, my camera is off, but yeah. My question is, when life throws a bigger challenges, how do we focus on getting out of that situation at the same time dealing with your day-to-day, life? Basically, it's so difficult to focus on anything right now, and I know what to do in a sense, because I am in association of devotees and ISKCON for a while now. But it is so hard to focus on anything right now. I'm trying my best to do the chanting, but it is so difficult. It's like I don't have the strong desire. Like my mind is all over the place. It's like how to channel myself to get out of my situation and at the same time grow spiritually.
Well, I'll say two things. One of this just a repetition of something during that little talk, and that's the why. The why is important. And then before you get to the how, focus on the why. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's a principle, it's simple. And so it's important to you. And then what are the means to, there's the what, I want to be focused, and then there's the how, but the why. So the Krishna connection part, which was also a major part of the short talk, was I'm recommending that the same we heard. We want to love and be loved. And if you're feeling that sense of love and being loved, even when circumstances are difficult or more than difficult, they're severe or whatever they are, and you're feeling disheartened or all the things that you said, that relationship is still there. It's just fundamental. To the extent that you have that which is fundamental, a connection with that which is fundamental, you'll find the strength to continue even when it's very difficult. There's verses in Bhagavad Gita that say what I'm saying, and so rather than Bhagavad Gita verse it's a principle. That's what human life is meant to achieve. What I'm speaking about in response to your question, that's what our human life is meant to achieve. That connection, personal connection. When that personal connection of feeling loved and loving is there, you can endure all kinds of stuff. You can go through tornadoes and, emotional turmoil and, all kinds of things that happen in life. Because I'm speaking, I just had this conversation with a devotee from the Ukraine. And it was short, but a very nice discussion. And this devotee is one of the leaders in the Ukraine, And he's a very deep person. And what's going on there is like crazy. Without the details, he shares some of the stuff, but he's very grounded. And and the why question for him, the turmoil is very severe, losing dear devotees in the war, etc., 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 etc. But he's very grounded. See, there's ballast as he's crossing the ocean, and it's a storm. And there's ballast. And when the storm is over, because it's not forever, the storm isn't forever. And that's going to make him stronger in terms of his centeredness when it's, there isn't a storm. And who knows how long that thing is going to go on in the Ukraine. But in any case, life goes on. And where's your center? This is the why. What's really, really fundamentally important to you? Make that question very strong and make it the center of your life, and do the things, then the what, you do the things, or excuse me, the how, you do the things that will help you get there. Like you say, it's difficult for you to focus on your chanting, but you strive anyways, because the why is very strong. And then the how gets strength from that purpose, that mission. Personal, not just somebody else is telling you, but it's something that you accept in your heart. And you get strength where there wasn't strength.
That's very deep, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Well, human life.
I never thought in that angle, but yeah, I'll try to find that answers and ask this question to myself.
Good. Triple good.
Vrinda? Marge, can we do one more question?
And then it disappear.
I'm sorry?
One more.
Okay, sure. Vrinda, go for it.
Thank you. Hi, Maharaj. I'm sorry if you already answered something like this before. I might have missed it. But my question is something I feel like that I deal with on the daily. And I know that we're told that we're supposed to keep, Krishna at the center, and that everything that we do, like every single day, has to be for Krishna, or in like doing for Krishna. But I feel like it comes to me in waves. So like obviously when I'm sad or in a bad mood or upset, it's easier to like think of God. But when I'm with, friends or happy memories, or like in loving relationships with friends and things like that, or just in general, when I'm happy throughout the day, most of the day, I like can't think, it's not that I don't think of Krishna consciousness, but I feel like it's not at the center, and we'll go through like the entire day in a wave of like not thinking about anything at all. But then when I'm by myself again, or just alone, then it's easier to think of it. And I guess my question is, how do you keep Krishna at the center even when you're happy, and even when there's not necessarily a need to think about it, I guess?
Lovely question. And we're going to be discussing this over the Thanksgiving holiday, because it's the topic that you're bringing up is a core part of one of the stages of bhakti, is called anishtata, heading towards nishtha, unsteady heading towards steady. And there's stuff in between unsteady and steady, and that's unwanted things, called anarthas, a nice Sanskrit word, something unwanted in the heart. So your question is related to that topic. And sometimes it's the other way around for people. They can think of Krishna when they're happy, but when they're feeling some negative emotion because of XYZ, it's hard to think of Krishna because they're absorbed in their negative emotion. Circumstances are different for each of us. So back to the principle, there's unwanted things in the heart, and being in the distracted mood, or being in the enjoying mood, or being in the non-contemplative mood, one of the best remedies on the practical basis from me to you, for someone who's been following Bhakti life for 55 years, is the quality of your chanting every day. I call it the big rock first. You know that example?
No,
The
I haven't heard of it.
time management. It's really simple. I like things that are simple. So over here is a glass jar. See the glass jar? And over here, there's a big rock. There's some small rocks. There's some pebbles, and there's some sand, 4 things. And they all fit in the big glass jar. What goes in first?
The big rock.
Got it. You stay in your exam. Now, the next question is, what's the big rock? And that comes back to the question of what's really important to you. It's this asking of questions. That what's really important to you, that's the big rock. And for followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the big rock is our morning sadhana. You can say chanting, but it's in addition to chanting. It's what we do after we make the outside of the body clean, we make the inside clean. And that's the big rock. So it's chanting, it's reading, it's praying, it's worshiping, it's all those things that the big rock that goes in first. And you do that every day, not just mechanically because somebody said you're supposed to think of Krishna, so I'll do it because they said you're supposed to think of Krishna, but because you want. You want that connection. You want a loving relationship that's not circumstantial. You want a loving relationship that's palpable and meaningful and substantial, and it stays with you. Then it stays with you as you do that. It'll stay with you throughout the day, whether it's rough weather or smooth weather, because it's there. It's the ballast that's in the hull of your ship as you're crossing the sea of material life. And sometimes, but you always have that core experience that's within, and it carries you, and it grows. If you're sincere and you strive by right means, that big rock becomes like your life. Then there's other little things that are also your life. You like music, you like whatever the things you like. You like cooking, you like dancing, you like something, you like something. And those are the pebbles or the small rocks. And then there's sand. There's stuff that comes your way, and you do that stuff too. But you got the center is there, the big rock. It's just a metaphor. It's a metaphor for time management or life management. And you go in that, the Krishna at the center. The other graphic was the splashing in concentric circles. But if the center is strong, and every day, abhyasa, practice, yoga, bhakti yoga, practice, and then it's your life. And it infuses everything out in concentric circles.
Thank you, Maharaj.
It works. It works. Okay, I'm going to disappear. Is that okay?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Really appreciate you being here. And I speak on everyone's behalf that it has been delightful to be in your association.
And it was
Hare Krishna.
Hare
amazing
Krishna, Maharaj.
the first evening over there. To
Hare Krishna.
name, but the gentleman what was his name again?
Avi, was that your name? Yeah.
Okay, nice to meet you. We hope we meet again somewhere down the road. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.